Welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast. My name is Anthony Oliver, and today we'll be asking what, if anything, the UK construction sector can learn from automotive. Now, a quarter of a century ago, Sir John Egan's review of the industry drew on the successes and lessons from car manufacturing as a guide for how the construction sector might be transformed. And Rethinking Construction highlighted the use of standardisation, computer-aided design, lean production methods, investment in innovation and technology, and a focus on productivity, training and quality outcomes. And all were designed to take the industry away from an era of bespoke one-off projects towards one of systemised improvement and better outcomes. And while we've certainly seen some significant changes over the last 25 years, the reality is we haven't really seen the kind of advances that were perhaps predicted or demanded as core to getting more and better outcomes for the vast amount of public and private money invested each year. Why not? Well, many reasons, but one argument is always that unlike car manufacturing, construction always deals with bespoke, unique products, and attempting to follow Automotive's example, we're told, is just not possible, practical or desirable. Well, that's the myth. I suppose what's the realities? Can infrastructure still learn from automotive? Well, to find out, it's a huge pleasure to welcome Chetan Kotur to the podcast today. Chetan is Head of Technology and Innovation for Europe at Laing O'Rourke. I mean, arguably one of the most forward-thinking contractors at work today. And it's a role that he's held for the last 18 months or so, having spent the first 10 years of his already distinguished engineering career in automotive sector with Volvo and most recently with the electric vehicle brand Polestar. So I suppose if anyone should know, it's Chetan. So welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Well, Chetan, as I say, you're 18 months or so into a career in the construction sector. And when I spoke to you recently at the Manchester Transforming Infrastructure Performance Summit, you indicated that you were still relatively bemused by the way things operate compared to your previous life in automotive. I mean, how would you describe the differences?
I don't know if I would say I was bemused, but really there are some big cultural changes that have been really interesting to be part of and also just observe and get into it. The complexity in this industry is absolutely awe-inspiring. The scale and magnitude of the projects and the ways of working. I mean, there's a huge labor effort required to build the amazing structures that we do in the construction industry. And that's really taken me by surprise. That's something I didn't appreciate fully before coming in. And also the physical nature of the labor, actually. I was amazed when I went to a few construction sites when I first joined the industry to see the real, tough working conditions and environments that people have to go and live in day out. That was a bit of a shock. But I think what it did is give me a huge passion and fire to see a huge opportunity to make a difference, make an impact, and in whatever way find ways to support and help my colleagues in this new industry.
Yeah. Well, when I was helping the Construction Leadership Council, Andrew Waltonhome, of course, who was running it then, who's now at Laing O'Rourke, we were putting together the sector deal bid many years ago, and we constantly refer back to the Automotive Council and its approach to bringing the sector together, and we described it as raising the supply chain up as a whole to compete at a higher level. From what you've observed, why is that so hard to do in construction?
From my humble opinion, seeing the first few months of my time in this industry, really, the fragmentation in the industry is really clear. There is an extremely fragmented supply chain, value chain. The whole kind of relationship between different parties in the ecosystem is very complex. And also, I don't think everyone is really necessarily looking at the same objectives and the same goals and have the same drivers and incentives, actually. So that's a big issue. And really, to achieve what the automotive industry has achieved, collaboration is key. You really need to harness systems thinking and a kind of platform approach to be able to get the best economies of scale. And that coupled up together with a kind of long-term strategic thinking and long-term strategic planning means, in essence, you can kind of create what I would like to call a kind of single nervous system, which can kind of power your whole supply chain. That, from what I've seen in the construction industry, has been really hard to achieve. But I don't think it's impossible.
Right. So, drawing on what Sir John Egan said 25 years ago, I mean, do you agree construction can learn from automotive?
Absolutely. I mean, the automotive industry itself has gone through many revolutions in just the last 120 years. I mean, if you go back to 1908, General Motors started a platform using the same chassis for multiple different brands. And from there, evolving to what Volkswagen introduced with the MQB platform, and Volvo, the company I came from, SPA and SCMA platforms. They are, phenomenal pieces of innovation that have created mass economies of scale and completely transformed those entire business models of those companies. But that coupled together also with the lean methodology and lean way of thinking, where the Toyota production system really has completely transformed manufacturing with waste reduction, harnessing advanced manufacturing and platforms. That's something which I think all industries can learn from, actually, and many industries are learning from it. I think construction has been kind of quite behind in that kind of journey. But also another thing that's kind of surprised me is how often I've heard the word digital, actually. And that's something that's been a bit of a shock to me, talking about digital twins and digital, digital engineering. Because for me, coming from a world which is extremely digitally native, from a design, development, simulation perspective, that's not really something we ever thought about. I mean, the way to work and the way to design and test cars was to use digital tools. So I definitely think there is a way forward for the construction industry to learn from industries like the automotive industry, but not only the automotive industry.
Yeah. Well, I remember going to the JLR, the Jaguar Land Rover, a plant many years ago, and being amazed by the fact that they had immersive caves there. You could put your head inside an engine, and that was way before we were using BIM in the construction sector. And the investment was there in that innovation. I suppose one of the clear differences is that construction is largely driven by publicly funded bodies, whereas automotive is wholly private. Is that the key difference, holding back investment in innovation and change into those digital technologies, for instance?
I don't think automotive is wholly private, but essentially it's about securing seed funding. And, investment comes where there is especially now, investment is driven where there is huge amounts of technology and innovation, which actually helps see a much brighter future. And I guess I really believe that construction will see a huge shift due to the advance of technology and innovation being deployed at major companies. It'll make construction a much more exciting proposition, and that actually it will help construction come more into the platform economy, which is where all the highest value companies in the world are today. And we're seeing it already. I mean, that's one thing we need to be aware of. There are so many construction tech startups around the world which are getting, amazing valuations. And so the opportunity is there. We just need to really make sure that we're all thinking in the right way.
Well, with somebody with technology and innovation in your job title, I imagine I hope that is the case. But before we talk about what you're actually up to at Laing O'Rourke, I think can we just have a quick chat about you and your backgrounds? I think that's going to give us an idea of what forms you're thinking. I mean, you were born in Hong Kong, I believe, where your parents were working as medics. You moved to Darlington in the UK, where you exploited your lifelong passion for cars by entering a school design competition organised by Jaguar Land Rover in 2007. Not that long ago. This led to a studio engineering work experience placement learning how to design cars. And that was at the start of the Jerry McGovern era at Land Rover, where things were kind of changing and it was all very, very exciting. I mean, looking back, how did that school competition help shape your career that you have now?
It completely transformed my direction, my journey. I mean, I came from a medical background, from very humble roots. My parents came from very humble roots in India, and the world I was exposed to was medicine, really. But then, I always had this passion for cars, and I was quite a creative kid. And so I remember my design technology teacher at school. He told me about this Jaguar car design competition to design the Jaguar of the future. So I thought, hey, let me try it. So I entered this competition. I designed a SUV, which was not something that Jaguar did back then, and put that proposal forward. And somehow I won, which was like, it just opened up my eyes. And, then I got to go to the design studio and kind of learn what it was all about to design cars, a world which I had not been exposed to. And it just fueled this immense excitement and passion in me. And it was that kind of early stage, when I was at sixth form student, that I took that leap of faith and, decided that I was going to break the family tradition and mold and follow this passion for designing cars.
Oh my lord, that must have been some conversation you had there. But you say you always had this love for cars, and I noticed that while you were studying automotive engineering at Loughborough, you had a brief job as a mechanic. Now you're talking to somebody here who regularly takes bits and pieces off a 1978 Land Rover. I've for some reason I ended up in civil engineering, despite the fact I spent most of my childhood taking cars apart myself. But are you still a spanner and socket wielding wrencher?
So I did that mechanic experience when I was younger, actually, before I went to uni, just because I wanted to learn a bit about how cars go together and get some practical experience. But yeah, absolutely. My passion for cars is really true, and unfortunately, right now I don't have a project that I'm working on.
Oh.
My wife and I have been traveling around the world, so we've only recently come back to the UK. But because we've been in different locations around the world, it hasn't been an opportunity to wield the spanner and socket wrench. Right. But I'm always keeping my eye out. Being back in the UK is very exciting for that. Yeah, I have as much of a passion for old cars as I do for new cars. The new cars are very exciting and propose have their own challenges. But cars from all eras are something that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, well, believe me, it's all about the journey, not the destination. Your automotive career started in the diesel world with Cummins, thanks to a university placement. Are you involved in cost reduction there, which sounds like your first foray into the world of innovation and new ideas? What were the challenges there that you met?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, actually. I have a lot to thank for the time I had at Cummins, because it taught me how to be an engineer. It was my first real practical experience in the industry, where the complexities of working in an office environment, big company kind of organizational structure, driving change and convincing, negotiating, and really trying to sell the dream, really, of an opportunity to make a difference and make an improvement. It was a fantastic introduction for me on a very global scale. And it also gave me the practical experience of learning how to design stuff. So, I got CAD skills and I designed components, which ended up going into production and ended up saving the company quite a lot of money, which was really good experience as a student to be part of.
Yeah. That led to your career at Volvo in Gothenburg, a Swedish icon, at which you had a range of roles and ended up as lead studio engineer for the Polestar 2 vehicle. Volvo's, as it was then, premium electric vehicle division. And of course, you also worked on the XC40. I presume that designing a car, you talked about construction being around about teamwork and people, but designing a car is a long process involving many, many people and many, many skills, I imagine. That's correct, is it?
No, it is. It's a very complex system. A car company, that is, with thousands of employees all working together across multiple different disciplines, with a product focus. There's an extremely complex global ecosystem of supply chain partners and suppliers that kind of help bring that product to life. It is a very complex process. But it's a very well-established process, and one which is scrutinized to the nth degree, and with a huge amount of focus on quality, safety, cost, and making sure that you maximize efficiencies throughout the whole value stream. So it's a very interesting process. But ultimately, and I have said this to many people I've met in my first year and a half here in the construction industry. Designing and building a thing ultimately is what most industries actually do. So, for me, designing cars was, designing a product for people that would move. And in this industry, more often than not, you're trying to design and build something that won't move, but will still cater for people. So it's not that fundamentally different.
I mean, you're also deeply involved, which I find fascinating, in some of the technical developments, including Volvo's Drive Me autonomous vehicle experiment and developing the world's first collision avoidance system. I mean, based on that experience, do you think that self-driving cars will ever be a reality?
I think it's very complex. I remember when I started my journey as a young engineer working in collision avoidance technology and also the autonomous driving world. The excitement and the hype was real. All over the world, they were like, we've got a 5-year plan to make this happen. And that 5 years is very quickly stretched quite far out into the future to implement such disruptive technology in a very hybrid working environment where you have so many different complex inputs and human inputs. It is going to be hard to achieve. But, I think there have been some fantastic pilots around the world where they've showcased how autonomous vehicles can be used in different ways. And I think in a very controlled and measured environment, I think absolutely it's possible. I think the interesting thing is I think the technology is there. Is the regulation there? Is the industry ready to deploy at scale? And are people ready to interact with that kind of technology? That's something which is a much harder, it's a cultural thing, right? So behaviors and the whole human side of it, to do that transition, it'll take time.
There's a lot of ethical decisions, the old trolley bus conundrum, etc., to try and work through there. You joined Polestar most recently as the right-hand man for the CEO during the launch of this new electric car brand, and you were head of products with overall responsibility for the Polestar products and training of customer-facing staff in Asia Pacific. I mean, did being electric as a brand make it an easier or harder launch? I mean, what did you learn about change and, I suppose, influencing people?
First and foremost, I would say launching a global car company is not easy. It was extraordinarily tough and challenging and exciting. It was an experience of a lifetime, actually. I am so grateful that I've been able to have that experience in my life. I'm thankful to all of the colleagues at Polestar and the people that helped me on that journey. It was an incredible journey. And it was really tough because if you can imagine, it's an insanely competitive industry, if not one of the most competitive industries. So to get any kind of niche or opportunity to get your brand seen or recognized because the noise is so huge, it's tough. The fact that it's electric was also, though very exciting, it had a huge spotlight on it because, there was a huge amount of focus and excitement and expectation, consumer expectation of, what is this going to give us in the future? So it was really tough. We're living out in Shanghai and, trying to launch the brand out in Asia Pacific and the products out there. That was a really tough world because the Chinese market when I arrived there, it had 300 domestic electric vehicle brands.
Wow.
And that is competition, I tell you. I mean, that is not a joke. And if you compare to what we were faced with in Europe or in the States or in other parts of the world, the Chinese competition was unbelievable and it was fierce with the domestic local competition. So it is tough. It was a really tough journey, but I'm really proud of what we achieved at Polestar. I'm really proud of what the company is still doing now. Now I'm not there. I think the fact that it's a global brand which is in multiple markets all over the world, and now launching multiple variants and different car models, and also having manufacturing operations in different parts of the world. It's a fantastic journey and it's a fantastic story actually, which I'm proud of.
Which I suppose leads me to the next question. You're now head of innovation at Lang O'Rourke. I mean, how on earth did Ray O'Rourke persuade you to leave the sanity, the order, the innovation-hungry world of automotive to join the mayhem of a very conservative construction sector in the UK?
Well, frankly speaking, it was serendipity actually. My wife and I, we were in Shanghai during COVID. Which was a really tough time and a very real human experience, which taught us a lot and again humbled us greatly. We decided to come back to Europe during that period for a break because it was a bit tough. So when we came back here, it was within a matter of a few days that Ray O'Rourke actually contacted me and said he'd like to speak to me and meet me, which was a surprise. I didn't really know who he was. I didn't know what Lang O'Rourke really did because I was not from this sector. But I met him and he told me his story. He told me his vision. He told me what inspires him and what his kind of lifelong strive for excellence is all based around, and really improving the sector. You said it was very conservative. That's what he said to me. He said it's a very conservative sector that needs to change and needs to develop and improve. And when I heard that and I saw this incredible human experience that Ray has lived, having started his life as working under the Victoria Line as a construction worker, to now, leading, an incredible organization, really driving change in the industry. I looked at that and I thought, you know what, I've lived my dream. I really have. My childhood dream was to design cars. I got to live that dream with a brilliant team to design, a car. Polestar 2 was our baby. And then I got to live an experience way beyond my wildest dreams of launching a global car company with a brilliant team there as well. And when I got presented with an opportunity to come and help Ray and his brilliant team with, trying to transform the construction sector and really drive new technology and a new way of thinking to help push the goalposts and really drive a sustainable future. As an engineer, that just excited me. I just thought, what an opportunity to make an impact and what a great journey to be part of.
Well, some would say that working for Ray O'Rourke, it's the best job in construction. Others might say it's the opposite. I mean, he's a tough taskmaster, and I imagine that also probably appeals to you. But clearly, when it comes to construction, Lang O'Rourke is arguably head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to driving and investing in innovation. And I spoke to Simon Beers recently on the podcast about the amazing digital and off-site fabrication work going on at Everton. That's amazing, and there's a whole world of innovation going on to keep the Hinkley Point C on track. So what are your ambitions at Lang O'Rourke?
Well, really, for me, that journey that Lang O'Rourke has been on for the last 45 years, is all stemmed around Ray's own personal experience. The vision and purpose for what we're going after is all around people. It's around improving how we build. We need to change how we build to make life better for people who are on site doing, what is, to be honest, really tough working environments. And that driving change is, really fundamentally around safety, sustainability, and productivity. We need to improve all of those in the construction industry. And, Lang O'Rourke is I really feels that we're in such a blessed position because we have this vertically integrated delivery model, where we employ people that work on site. And so we can actually help the industry drive change by implementing new ways of working, new technologies. And fundamentally, the way that, from my perspective, leading technology and innovation at the company, we talk about the 4 M's. That's machines, methods, modules, and materials. Those ultimately are the 4 key things that we're focusing on to help us really bring about a really bright future for the industry and fundamentally change how we build.
Yeah, because we are seeing some great advances being made when it comes to platform design, modern methods of construction, DFMA. But the reality is that it's not yet commonplace, and without a pipeline of investment, it's tricky even for businesses like Lang O'Rourke. I mean, what has to happen to give you the confidence to really invest, I suppose, automotive style in innovation?
So ultimately, innovation is really possible at scale when you collaborate. Collaboration is absolutely key. So that's something which I think in the construction industry we can absolutely improve on. Collaborating together and really harnessing the best skills and the best talents of different organizations and parties working together. I mean, ultimately, we are servicing communities to solve some of the biggest problems, building hospitals, building our energy security for the future as a nation. These are things which are going to benefit our children and our grandchildren. And if we don't collaborate, what's the point in doing it, actually?
Yeah.
We can absolutely work together to make this happen. But fundamentally, to really maximize the opportunity that, modern methods of construction and, design for manufacturing assembly can give, the most important thing is really delivering early technical input. I mean, the world I come from, when we were designing cars and, literally coming up with the early concepts, we would have the manufacturing engineers in the room telling us what is, humanly and possible and feasible. And you'd work in a collaborative manner concurrently to make sure that you develop and design a car with the right constraints, which is feasible. What I see in this industry is there's a lot of sequential working. So we do one part of the process and we lob it over the fence, and then someone picks it up and then has to, change things, and then it's thrown over the fence again. And I think we can definitely improve there in how we work in a systemized way, collaborating much earlier in the process, in the REBA stage process. And ultimately, if you do that, there is massive benefits to the entire ecosystem. You can get economies of scale, you can drive efficiency through the whole process, and you can actually improve your quality control as well. So the end result will be a lot better.
You've got huge amounts of passion and a huge challenge ahead of you, and I see that you are definitely the man to do the job. What do you do to kind of like decompress from all these ideas?
Well, I'm very blessed to have a very grounded family life. My wife and I, we recently had a baby boy. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Our son, he's 4 months old, and that obviously keeps us very occupied and busy at the moment. But, I'm a pretty fun-loving guy. So for me, I have many interests and passions. My wife and I, we love dancing. So we dance together. I'm a sportsman. I love cycling, running, playing cricket. We love music. So, I keep myself busy, but, coming back to the UK has been really wonderful because it means that we get to have a lot more family time. So, right. Now having grandparents and, aunties and uncles who can come and see our little baby boy, that's a really special way to spend our time.
Very good. I presume that you're now moving from the Polestar 2 to the Polestar 3 then, are you? Is it? Oh, no, what is it? Polestar 4 is a station, right? What's about? Is it the 4?
Well, yeah. Well, right now, actually, I'm not driving a Polestar 2. My mother actually drives a Polestar 2, which I'm very proud of. But no, I drive something which represents my whole past and my career, which is a Volvo V60 Polestar engineered. It's a car.
Oh, right.
It's a car I worked on, but actually combines the Volvo and Polestar brands together. And for me, it's the perfect fit for a really lovely family car.
Arguably, you know a little bit too much about the background and the inside story to all these cars. But the automotive sector, moving on, the automotive sector certainly invests in technology, but also invests in skills and training. I mean, what would you say is missing in the construction sector when it comes to this skills and training piece?
Well, I mean, ultimately, and this comes down to the fragmentation in the industry, right? To really improve and change how we build, you need to look at the whole system. The fact that in this industry, so much work is subcontracted out, that means that you end up with you lose a bit of control and you lose a bit of the whole end-to-end thinking. And that's something which, at Langer Roerk, we're really, passionately driving because we understand that we have that end-to-end delivery capability. And so for us, we're really investing in training programs, in upskilling our people, and really helping develop future careers and professions so that we can have a more attractive industry in the future for the next generation. I mean, I know for a fact now a lot of the young generation probably wouldn't be so excited to want to work on a construction site.
I noticed when you were at Cummins, you were involved in the Big Bang Fair in 2011. I mean, how can construction and infrastructure businesses make themselves as attractive to young people as the automotive business or the aerospace businesses? Because you see the stands at those kind of fairs, they're mobbed by kids who just want to get involved in those industries.
Absolutely. And, it's about branding, really. It's, really putting the technology that we use at the forefront, really showcasing good working conditions. That would be a nice thing to start with. And also the impact. I mean, there is so much that we can do as an industry. A lot of times I still see the most common picture of the construction industry is someone wearing a high-vis jacket and a hard hat. And that doesn't appeal to a huge amount of the population. But there is so much more to construction and so many other professions and jobs, which, there's a huge proportion of our society that would be attracted to doing the work and have the skills to be able to contribute. But we don't market ourselves well. We can do a much better job there. And also in terms of the skills and the attractiveness of the jobs we want to offer. We need to really go at, grassroots level to kind of to help, the industry move forward. So, we're really proud that we're working with the local college at the moment to develop a new apprenticeship training qualification. And that will help us, develop multi-skilled assembly specialists, which will then help us in the future get much more attractive jobs and a really bright future career progression for people entering the industry.
I mean, the construction sector, it does offer an environment that that can embrace the kind of the skills and the passions of young people. I mean, you mentioned digitization. It is now something which it should be kind of ubiquitous across the whole industry and something which people are drawn in. I mean, is there a wider sort of cultural hurdle to overcome that the industry is just not really kind of making itself more appealing to the industry?
Well, I think, I was definitely excited about the prospect of coming to this industry, the impact. I mean, I feel so proud to be part of a team and a company that's delivering hospital programs and building a nuclear power station and really taking some of the biggest grand challenges of the world right now and actually trying to contribute and build the world around us. And I think that message of what impact the construction industry makes to society, I don't think that's commonly known. I think a lot of people in construction probably just take that for granted. That I'm sure everyone knows what we do. We're building the world. I mean, it's ironic, right? We call it the built environment. But when I speak to many people from my old sector or people amongst my friends and family, they have no idea about what the construction industry, how it operates, or what it actually does. So I definitely think there's a huge opportunity for us as members of the construction industry to improve how we represent ourselves, to really educate and inform society on what we do and the impact it makes.
Yeah, well, certainly one of the areas which has been, I think, been quite influential in your career is your involvement with the Royal Academy for Engineers, which certainly has got a very large programme of trying to get that message out there. I mean, you know, the Engineering Leadership Advanced Award got you into Volvo, the Executive Engineers Programme gave you leadership skills, and it culminated with you as being the Young Engineer of the Year in 2018, which is a significant calling card for your career. I mean, should more young professionals get involved and try to get that message out about the wider engineering profession?
Absolutely. I think one thing I'm very passionate about. The Royal Academy of Engineering is a fabulous institution, really driving incredible, exciting opportunities in this industry. But I think we as engineers in this industry should take that with pride, really respect the influence that we can make. And we have to inspire the next generation. There is so many exciting prospects for engineers. I am biased, but I firmly believe that engineers are the ones that change the world and are the ones that design the world for the future. That is such an exciting prospect for young people to give them that chance to say, hey, you can be part of shaping tomorrow. What more could you want from life, right? So I think we should absolutely encourage more young people to get involved.
Well, I'm sure your parents would say, but you should have been a doctor. But that's another story. We do see. Just finally, we do see some fantastic work happening across the sector. Innovation and technology is really impacting the work at Lang O'Rourke. I mean, so what's your vision? What's Lang O'Rourke's vision for a future of innovation in construction?
I mean, ultimately, we're driving to change how we build. We want to look at the grand challenges of society today. And then look at how can we actually bring about technology, innovation, and smart ways of doing things that will improve the lives of people on site and actually radically transform the safety, sustainability, and productivity of the industry.
So your automotive background, is it going to shake up the construction sector status quo? Are you revolution? Are you evolution? Where are you?
I'm not one for talking about shaking things up or disrupting. That's not my seed. I mean, for me, really, this is a collaborative effort that we as engineers have to do We have to, take that seriously, and that's something which I'm very humbled and excited to be given the opportunity to work with such fantastic minds in the construction industry. What I see every day, I'm completely inspired and in awe of the effort that is put every day on site and what we do to get things built. I want to be part of that, and if there's any way, in any small way, I can support and bring a new way of thinking, I'd be very happy to offer that.
Chetan, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you today. I mean, you've got a huge ambition to really change this industry, and I think that you've got some fantastic ideas there that are going to really transform the industry. So thanks very much for sharing those ideas and for joining me on the Infrastructure Podcast today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Anthony.
That's all we've got time for today on the Infrastructure Podcast, but we have got more in the pipeline and more guests to talk to as we continue to probe the big issues facing across the sector. If you haven't done so already do check out the Infrastructure Podcast website. That's www.infrastructure-podcast.com, where you'll find background links to some of the issues discussed today and all the latest podcasts to listen to and to share with colleagues. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks again to Chetan. I look forward to seeing you again very soon.